Well, hello and welcome people internet back to some more Army of Ruin. Today we're jumping into the ancient forest. For one, we are just looking to complete stars for right now to continually get more features, but also if we complete Forest 3 with any character, we will also get a new weapon. And there's a lot of weapons that are really hidden behind other things that we don't have unlocked yet, likely going to be other difficulties of stages here. So let's get into Forest 3, No Ruin, and we're going to jump in with Lanice, because we haven't played her for a little bit, it feels like. Or actually, no, I think we did play her the other day. I don't know. It's been a little while. Still kind of in holiday mode, still recording a bunch of stuff. Recorded a bunch of stuff before the holidays. So that way, once it came around to the holiday time, wouldn't have to worry about having any recordings. I could kind of have them all queued up here. I think we're going to go with projectiles here. So throwing axe seems kind of reasonable. And, of course, they share an element. So let's go ahead and go with that. But what that means is there was quite a big chunk there, a few days, where I wasn't really getting to play anything. And so now we're back here. Here is... Let's go. Let's get her done. Crimson Flask, one of my favorite trinkets to play with, and it fulfills, well, I was going to say two, but technically only one of our elements. Raven's Wing. I think this might be a new one. More health, more damage, but less experience. It's an interesting one. I do like the more damage. The health doesn't really matter, but I think this is reasonable. Projectile builds, as we found kind of with Ariana, I don't really need a bunch of levels to get them going. They kind of just work. Really, like, if I was doing more of an AoE build, I definitely wouldn't pick this up, but for right now, not too bad here. So we could go, let's see, so if we go with Energy Bolt, that's another projectile, and we can pick up something like the Quiver or something. We could also potentially go with Magic Needle 2, where just increase our damage even more. We don't really care about the attack size. And this, of course, shares a moon, which you already have, so we would just need to pick up fire. Yeah, I suppose let's do that. Let's do that. And especially since we're on difficulty 3, I just want to make sure that our damage is high, because so we found... We're not going to go with this. I think this is too far off. We're not going to here. We'll just pick up this. We found that... at least going, like, solely AoE doesn't really do... Oh, that's funny. So, I just got off of recording a bunch of the Spell Brigade episodes, and if you haven't checked out those, first of all, you should go check out the Spell Brigade on my channel. But one of the things that I've been talking about in that game, or at least I mentioned in the first couple episodes, was that the hitboxes in that game were so freaking well fine-tuned that you can go up and sniff a goblin in the ear, and unless your nose was touching his ear, you weren't going to get hit. And we're going to go with Energy Bolt. And so I figured, oh, I can just sneak through this hole of pigs, and it's like, nope, I still got hit. So I'll have to rewind that back and see if I actually did get touched, but when I was looking, I'm pretty sure it didn't touch me. But it's kind of, you know, I've been taking it for granted playing Spell Brigade, and I can just sneak through these tiny little holes in enemies, whereas, oh, I should probably be doing the elites, huh? This is just, you know, I just can't do it. I've been spoiled. Been very much spoiled. Gold Trident seems a little... well, I suppose it does share a fire here, which we could then go into ice, but we're just going to take this Elven Quiver. That gives us the fire for the Energy Bolt. Of course, it gives us the projectiles. We do lose some damage, but we are gaining some damage from here, and then we can also, you know, pick up some damage in other places. And all of our skills are also pretty high damage anyway, so that's not too big of a deal. But, yeah, these projectile builds are very, very deadly. Although we do have a chest right here, or at least a power-up right here. Not sure if it's going to be a chest or not. Let's go ahead and pick up our magnet here. So what do we want to go with? None of these. That's what we want to go with. We do have the throwing axe. Let's see, Ice Mirror. Nah. I mean, Sylvan Shell technically, this probably isn't the run to go for the evolution here because we have a decrease in experience, so let's just level up the throwing axe. We don't have anything for ice yet, so I don't want to pick that up and kind of jinx it. We could just go with magic staff. That is one of the projectiles that we could go with. Getting emerald ring would also be reasonable because I do need a, or actually rabbit's foot could kind of be good. We do already have a lot of luck built in though once we're leveling up with this character, so I think I'm just going to take the magic staff and then we can level up more health, more damage, but yeah, I mean this is just really good. So we don't need coin purse, don't need, technically we do need that. Do you want to go ice tier? Sure. That gives us our little bit of AoE. Overall though, after playing a bunch of Army of Ruin, I think that I can kind of safely now. I can't upgrade this, so maybe this I can get the evolution for. So I'm going to work on that first until I get a sun trinket. I can kind of talk a little bit more about what I think of Army of Ruin, and to be completely honest with you guys, I actually really enjoy this bullet heaven. Do I think it's the most complex building system in the world? No, I don't. However, I do think that there is enough here. That's pretty sweet. In order to actually... Quicksilver Spears actually works with the extra projectiles. Let's do it, because then I can just run forward. Just hit W. You know, I think it has, first of all, I think the thing that it really has going for it is the amount of unlocks. There's a lot of different unlocks to unlock. That's the word I was looking for. So it has that going for it. Is the gameplay itself revolutionary in any way? No, not particularly. You know, it does a lot of do a lot of stuff that a lot of other bullet heavens do. It is, you know, it has that similar. You know, it's the similarities with Vampire Survivors, right? The fact that in order to evolve a weapon, you're going to need a matching trinket, although this one kind of takes it in a slightly different direction, right? Where it's not necessarily that you need a matching trinket, but it's that you need a trinket of a certain element. But what that does is that it kind of opens up builds, right? One thing that it was kind of difficult with Vampire Survivors is that for every weapon you need a very specific trinket, and this was the case when we played like Twilight Survivors, and that I feel like is a little bit limiting. And this played on the formula in a really nice way, where, you know, for example, going for like a fire trinket, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of get damage out of these, and I would have to look at these. I bet these elements are kind of tied to certain types of trinkets, right? Because coin purse is fire, dragon heart is fire, so it seems like everything that's kind of like damage oriented is fire, although I don't think this was fire. I think this was what? Yeah, this was moon. I'm just going to pick up the exotics, but I don't really need it. I mean, it does give me more experience, but it's going to allow me to evolve my throwing axes if we get to that point. But I think the infusion system has really just opened it up for how evolution works and allow you to play your builds in a little bit more free-form way. Where is that other... Oh, it's still up this way. Yeah, we got time. We got time. Let's go ahead and pick up... Actually, we got four enemies to defeat. I probably want to get that done, especially since we're going to be a little bit lower on experience. I probably want to get this done so that way we can get that chest and get a lot more upgrades. Though, to be fair, we are going to have additional time. Oh, boy. Yep, they're super immune. Right, we're going to have longer time, more time to get more upgrades. So we should be able to maybe evolve everything, which would be pretty sweet. We haven't had a run yet where we've evolved everything. But we are still a ways off. But it is going to be... It's going to be tough. I don't know what it's going to take for something to knock out my #1 bullet heaven. I don't know what it's going to take. It's going to take quite a bit. It's going to take like a really good gear system, and it's going to take... a really innovative way to not only select skills. What's the way I want to put this? Because it's not necessarily just about selecting skills, but more so I want there to be build fluidity. How am I trying to word this? Build fluidity without being locked into certain types. So, for example, when we played Dark Chaser Battleside, there was a lot of different builds that we could do. But some of the characters were very limited in what they could take. For example, there was a character that I believe... I mean, I'm going to try and remember this as best I can. I believe there was a character that scaled with fire damage. It was like specifically magic fire damage. And that kind of significantly limits what you can play. Versus a game like Death Must Die, where you are a bit more... You're not necessarily restricted in what you can take. But each character has their own strengths and weaknesses. In terms of... let's get the energy bolts, just kind of keep working. I mean, we have 3 different skills now that we can evolve. Different characters have different strengths. So there could be a build, for example, like let's say there was a character that has 4 strike slots and only 1 power slot. But maybe there's 1 power that works really well with all the different strikes. It's not necessarily the fact that like this character is going to necessarily be better or worse than a character that is the inverse, that has 4 power slots and 1 strike slot, but there's just different ways that you can synergize things together in a way that's not... There's no like removal of skills from your pool, right? There's no skills that are like, wow, this is just strictly bad because it's not scaling with my character's innate like damage modifiers. I'm just gonna try and take these guys out because they just drop a lot of experience. But I also really like the character building aspect. You know, I'm a player who has grown up on RPGs, right? So one of the things that I've talked about kind of to death when it comes to meta progression on this channel is that I am not a fan of the meta progression style where, I mean, like this game has. Well, this game, I would say, has 2 different forms of meta progression. And to be fair, one of those I'm not a big fan of. That being the kind where it's just like upgrade your damage, upgrade your experience, upgrade your range, right? All of these kinds of things where it's just like very much you click a button and it does it. And because there's no real cost weighing the cost versus benefits. What I like about RPGs, and I've been dealing with this a lot, I'm going to mention again because it's like all I've been playing, is in Path of Exile 2. I have been dealing with this constantly because of the way that gear works in that game. You don't always get what you want. Just a very quick breakdown for anyone who doesn't know how gear works in Path of Exile 2. All your weapons basically all have the same type of modifiers, right? Damage, crit rate, and attack speed. And then there's also 6 slots for things called affixes. They can be either prefixes or suffixes. For this conversation, you don't need to know either of those. Just know that there are basically 6 slots that can be used for any kind of upgrade. These upgrades can be anything from like a flat physical or flat damage of any kind. So this would be like each attack does an additional, X amount of physical damage or X amount of cold damage, right? It could be crit hit chance. It could be crit hit damage. It could be chance to find more loot on the ground. There's a lot of different things that you can get on your gear. But what happens, and the reason why it's so challenging to build a character in a game like this, and this is the part that goes to any RPG, right? Is there's going to be things that you have to weigh in terms of okay, like for example, let's say I'm going shopping for a new weapon, and or let me say it this way, because the example I was going to give doesn't work if I'm doing with weapons. Let's say, for example, one of the things that's really important in Path of Exile is resistances. So there's 3 different elements: fire, lightning, and cold. And you want these to be as high as possible. Of course, there is a cap, but that is not relevant for this conversation. So let's say, for example, that your chest piece has just a crap ton of fire and cold resist, and you want to buy a helmet, and you find one that's really good, has like maybe has a bunch of crit chance, it has chance to find more rare items, has more of your defensive stats. Maybe it's in this case it would be energy shield, which is just a shield basically on top of your health. But it doesn't have cold resist, and that was a bad example. Okay, a different chest. you want to upgrade your chest piece. I don't know why I was going with a different piece, right? So everything is upgraded, but it doesn't have cold resist. Well, now you're in a bit of a pickle, because if you take off the chest that you already had, oh well, then you could upgrade everything else, but you're going to lose a bunch of cold resistance. Or you could just stick with your old one and not get those upgrades and get the cold resistance. But what you could do is maybe you have a helmet that doesn't have cold resistance on it. Well, maybe now you can find a replacement with that with cold resistance. And there's like this whole push and pull when it comes to finding gear and finding what fits your gears, or what you need on your character. And this is the case with basically, do I have one more? No, that was the last one. Sweet. That's kind of the case with any RPG. You know, there's always going to be pieces of gear that you have to weigh the pros and cons of. And so that's why I really enjoy the gear system of Death Must Die, you know, really mixing in that RPG element into the Bullet Heaven sphere. And then of course you have the entire skill tree, which is also great, because then you can kind of hyper fixate your character into exactly what kind of character you want. Maybe you have a character who is more strike focused, but they have something that I don't even know. It's been so long since I played, but the point being, that you can kind of fine-tune their skills to be better suited to how you want to play them, I think is a really great thing. And I think that is just more fun than hitting a button that says, more damage. I want more damage. Like, yeah, we all do. But, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think for one, it's obviously much harder to make an active skill tree in video games, because there's going to be a lot more balancing between characters to make sure that, like, is this character skill tree more powerful than another character skill tree? There's also clearly it's not as easy as just saying, you know, 5% damage here per level, when it may be, you know, the way that it's increasing damage. Maybe it's like scaling damage for how close the attack is. Well, maybe you have a skill that just does absurdly high damage, and then when you get close, maybe there's something that synergizes with it where you don't actually take damage if you're that close, and then it just kind of breaks. So there's definitely like a lot of challenges there with an active skill system that I completely understand when it comes to design. It's way harder to do that, right? I'm not at all going to shrug off that fact that I understand that things like that are much harder to make. However, just because it's hard doesn't mean you should. And so I noticed that there's a lot of games that do... Holy, that is a lot of spears, man. It's a freaking lot of spears. There's a lot of games that go this route just because it's simple and it's easy and everyone really does it. You know, one of the things that I'm going to try and do less on this channel is I try a lot of different games, right? That's kind of like what my job here is to do, is to try and find the good, try and find the bad, and try and find the ugly. And sometimes we can play some of the ugly games and have fun with them, let's say. Not make fun of them, have fun with them. Enjoy them for what they are. But there are so many that are just like cut and paste of another. I mean, just today, for example, you know, it's been a couple days with the holidays. I haven't been able to search up the Steam pages as often as I would to try and find new games. And I found 2 or 3 that were new demo releases. One of which I had seen before, and by new I mean within like the past month, let's say, right? Not like new today. And so I found like 2 or 3 that seemed like they could be okay. I didn't think that they were going to be anything special, but I thought they would at least be reasonable to show off to you guys. And they were just a complete mess. Like there's just so, because this is just a simple formula to replicate, I feel like there's so many people who just think, I'll put slop on the table and they're gonna eat it because, you know, they're hungry people. But it's like, maybe, I think you could have gotten away with that back in, like, what was it? Was it 2020 or 2021 when Vampire Survivors, like, really blew up? I feel like back then you could have gotten away with that, with this genre specifically. But nowadays there are so many options and so many good options. You know, like, there's so many things that fill specific niches, and it's not necessarily that every game is perfect, because no game is perfect. But for example, if you want that like really in-depth RPG like looter experience, Death Must Die is probably for you. If you want a more old school feeling game that kind of gives you some nostalgia, Halls of Torment is probably for you. If you want a more anime style experience, really visually pretty and honestly kind of overly complicated, then, you know, Scarlet Tower might be for you. If you like something that's a little bit more simple, but there's a lot of unlocks and does have a little bit of depth, but for the most part, you can kind of just brainlessly play, kind of like what we're doing here, Army of Ruin might be for you. You know, if you want something that maybe has a little bit more challenge when playing with multiple players, the Spell Brigade might be Man, what else have we got? Oh, if you like a more I don't want to say RPG experience, but if you like a more campaign-based experience, where you're constantly exploring more of the map. As you unlock more of the map, you unlock more features. Nimrods might be for you. Like, so... Oh. We're just going to go for full-on money, just for more for meta progress. So, there's so many of these examples that we can go to of just a lot of these games filling niches, you know, some of which may or may not have some different problems on the back end, either with updates not coming as frequently, you know, communication from the devs not being as good as you'd want. Perhaps the upgrades aren't exactly in the way that you want them to be. Who knows what the differences are, but my point is that there's so many good options that why would you pick a crap option? And unfortunately, there is a lot of crap options out there right now, and it's like, I played one today, and I'm not going to throw names out just because I'm not going to be playing it on the channel. And I also don't want to bring negative attention, and that's not my intent. But it was unplayable for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons that I found it was unplayable was the fact that you literally would level up no less than once every 3 seconds. And I'm not even kidding. It was near impossible to play the game because I just kept getting experience and it kept pausing, and it wasn't a manual level up system, it was automatic. So I literally just like could not play the game. Now, add to the fact that it was, for one, very ugly to look at. I wouldn't say very ugly. It was stylized, but it was not very pretty. There's just not a lot going for it. You know, you have the Malignant Survivors. That one we did play on the channel. I will call that one out. That was literally just like a complete asset dump. You know, there's just a lot of crap out there. So I am looking for more of the quality stuff. It's just taken a little bit longer to find because unfortunately there is a lot of crap out there. I have a feeling there's a lot of games that I haven't gotten around to just because I'm kind of fairly new to the genre, right? We're about five or 6 months in now to playing Bullet Heavens, and of course there's many years of a backlog. So I have a feeling that what we're going to be doing is kind of backtracking here and playing some of the bigger games from the past couple of years and kind of exploring those a little bit. But of course, we're going to be kind of heavily exploring Army of Ruin and now the Spell Brigade as kind of our recurring games per weekly. And I do think I'm going to kind of continue doing the like 2 games at a time as my morning time slot that I continuously do, and then the afternoon being new releases. You guys actually really seem to enjoy Arborea, which I was very surprised with. I thought it would be interesting. I didn't think it would blow up that much. I always find that interesting because I don't know what makes games like that blow up. But as far as upgrades go, what did we get? I haven't talked at all about the game. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. And treat this more of like a podcast, if you will, and just kind of listen to that. Energy Bolt, of course, dealing crazy damage. Energy Spark, yay. I mean, this thing is just cracked. Spectral Needle, though. Oh, boy. Yeah, and that's after the evolution? Yeah, wow. Okay, big damage. Well, I guess it's bouncing around. It's just doing a bunch of damage. That makes sense. Feature, Elemental Overload. Passive bonuses for having multiple trinkets with the same element. Ooh, okay. This is interesting because this is something we haven't really run into yet. I mean, we've run into it a little bit when we've tried to play AoE build, right? Because on Ogle, her main weapon is Double Leaf. So interesting. We'll have to see what this is all about. I'm assuming... Well, it's passive bonuses. I wonder if you just get these or you have to pick them. Anyway, we did get the Magical Slingshot. Shoots stones around you in a spiral pattern. Very cool. I think the rest was just money we got. Eventually, we're going to have to do these complete the stage without moving. I think with that, though, I'm probably going to have to take... oh, well, I guess I probably wouldn't have to take pickup range. Maybe what I have to do... Maybe this... It is Shrine 1. Oh, wait. Shrine 1. I haven't even beat Shrine yet. Shrine's kind of tough. I have to do all these. They give all trinkets. I think our next video, we might have to do these complete the stage. Although this isn't giving stars... Because if I remember correctly in features, where are we at? 20. So 20 is the next one. And where are we at with stars? Why can't I? Oh, because they're unlocks. Okay, so if we come in here, I have, let's see, so 5, 11, 15, 18. So I need 2 more stars to get the next feature. Okay. So, not sure what we're going to do. Maybe we're going to do stand still challenge. Maybe we're going to go ahead and unlock some more stars. But either way, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Army of Ruin. Thank you for listening to my rambles. And of course, if you had some fun here with me today, would you kindly smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more roguelite action? I've been Ganyonz. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.